including Admiral Wolfe.
Yeah. I'd like to welcome the members of our second panel at the hearing today. We have Secretary Robert Kadlec, who is the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear Deterrence, Chemical and Biological Defense Policy and Programs, General Dale White with the United States Air Force, Director, Critical Major Weapons Systems, Department of the Air Force, General Stephen Davis, United States Air Force, Commander, Air Force Global Strike Command, and Vice Admiral Johnny Wolfe, Jr., United States Navy, Director for Strategic Systems Programs, Department of the Navy. Welcome to all of you. Let's begin with your opening statements. Secretary Kadlec, we will begin with you.
Thank you very much, Chair Fisher and Ranking Member King. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today regarding U.S. nuclear forces. I appear before you with a message that is stark and sobering, as you kind of alluded to during your opening statement. For the first time in our nation's history, we will face the challenge of deterring two nuclear peers, China and Russia, simultaneously, as well as regional powers with growing capabilities. This is not a hypothetical future problem. This is a now crisis. China is engaged in a breathtaking and opaque expansion of its nuclear arsenal, while Russia, with the world's largest arsenal, continues to modernize its forces, integrating new kinds of nuclear weapons into its strategy for coercion. Both adversaries have sophisticated theater nuclear weapons, significantly outnumbering the U.S. Add to this challenge is North Korea, whose missiles now can reach the American homeland. The picture becomes alarmingly clear. We're in a new and more dangerous era. The 2020 Strategic Posture Commission highlighted the inefficiencies and risks we've allowed to fester in our nuclear enterprise. For too long, we've operated under a business-as-usual model that reflected a benign security environment. Programs were delayed, hard decisions deferred, and taking risks were avoided. Now we must flip that model. We have to act with urgency while we take steps to accept risk appropriately to confront these challenges. Through the modernization and diversification of U.S. nuclear forces and the recapitalization of our NC3 capabilities, the President's FY 2027 budget request prioritizes the nuclear deterrent as the foundation of America's defense, approximately 5% of the total budget. The modernization and diversification of our nuclear deterrent, our submarines, our missiles, our bombers, and NC3 is not a choice, but an imperative. As Secretary Hegseth said recently, nothing else matters if we don't get this right. We must accelerate these critical programs wherever possible to deliver the next generation capabilities to the warfighter as soon as possible. We must also accelerate SLICM-N and develop additional theater nuclear forces. Such capabilities are essential to managing escalation and ensuring the United States is never subject to blackmail. Finally, we must supercharge our defense industrial base, returning the U.S. to the world's premier arsenal capable of producing a scale and speed with unmatched quality. The cost of investing in our nuclear forces and supporting capabilities and infrastructure is significant. However, the cost of failure is a world where the risk of miscalculation, catastrophic conflict is unacceptably high. That is a price we cannot afford to pay. We owe it to the warfighter, to the American people, and our posterity to ensure that our arsenal of freedom remains ready, reliable, and resolute. The time to act is now. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. General White, welcome. We would welcome your comments at this time. Thank you.
Chairwoman Fisher, Ranking Member King, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, on behalf of the Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth, and the Deputy Secretary of War, the Honorable Steve Feinberg, I thank you for the opportunity to testify on the vital work of the Direct Reporting Portfolio Manager for Critical Major Weapons Systems. The office was established by Secretary Hegseth to provide urgent, unified focus on a select group of weapon systems critical to the nation's defense. These programs, Sentinel, ICBM, Minuteman III ICBM, B-21 Raider family of systems, F-47 CCA family of systems, and VC-25B, require a higher level of leadership and operational urgency to ensure their timely delivery and execution. In alignment with the National Defense Strategy, the DERPM's role is twofold: to relentlessly prioritize the programs most consequential to the security and prosperity of the American people, and to drive the transformation of the acquisition process to equip the U.S. military with the world's most decisive and lethal warfighting capabilities. Success demands an outcomes-focused culture that delivers capabilities to the warfighter at the speed of relevance, and this requires an accelerated pace and a transparent partnership with the industrial base. The core purpose of the DERPM Critical Major Weapon Systems is to enable warfighters by delivering decisive capability at the speed of relevance. My mission is guided by three golden rules: empowered execution, integration over independence, and a revitalized relationship with the industrial base. Empowered execution. Program executive offices are fully empowered to execute with urgency under the DERPM concept. My role is to serve as their strategic champion, leveraging my authority to resolve complex cross-departmental challenges and dismantle bureaucratic obstacles in the process. Integration over independence. I function as the direct milestone decision authority for this portfolio, ensuring frictionless and absolute integration with the Department of the Air Force and other stakeholders. This streamlined structure and deliberately avoids replicating traditional oversight layers to accelerate decision-making. I revitalize industrial partnership. We're instituting a new paradigm of partnership with industry, moving beyond a transactional relationship to one built on transparency, collaboration, and shared accountability. We expect our industry partners to embrace modular, open system architectures to foster innovation, create opportunities for emerging companies, and deliver superior performance at a lower cost. This portfolio directly underpins the 2026 National Defense Strategy and contains the critical capabilities that serve as the ultimate guarantor of our national sovereignty. As the NDS unequivocally states, the United States should never, will never, be left vulnerable to nuclear blackmail. Two of the programs, B-21 and Sentinel, are dedicated to modernizing nuclear surety, while a third, Minuteman III, is focused on sustaining it until the replacement is fielded. Defending the U.S. homeland is the bedrock of homeland defense is a robust and modern nuclear deterrent. With both China and Russia aggressively modernizing their nuclear forces, it is an absolute imperative that U.S. modernization programs proceed with urgency. The B-21 Raider and LGM-35A Sentinel are the essential guarantors of credible U.S. nuclear deterrent for future generations. Investment continues to sustain the LGM-30 Minuteman III fleet, which remains on high alert 24/7 as a prompt and highly responsive retaliatory force. The cornerstone of the future bomber force, the B-21, is in its flight test campaign with the physical production advancing daily. This progress was further evidenced by the award of 2 additional low-rate initial production lots, one in December of 2025 and another in March 2026. And the first aircraft remains on track for delivery to Ellsworth Air Force Base in 2027, with a planned fleet of at least 100 aircraft and a recent agreement with Northrop Grumman to increase annual production capacity by 25%. As a land-based foundation of the nuclear triad, the Department is firmly committed to ensuring Minuteman III force remains safe, secure, and effective until Sentinel is fielded. Over $2 billion is allocated annually for operations and sustainment, with crucial investments continuing at the Little Mountain Test Facility to modernize testing equipment that will also support the future Sentinel program. The Sentinel program is advancing with clear purpose on a path to its milestone P decision by the end of 2026 and initial operational capability in the early 2030s. Key milestones achieved to date include taking the first Minuteman silo offline for transition in summer of 2025, assembling the first 3-stage ground test missile, and breaking ground on a prototype launch silo in February 26. The first missile pad launch is scheduled for 2027. The programs within the portfolio sustaining Minuteman III, accelerating the B-21 Raider, and executing Sentinel program are the bedrock of our nation's nuclear surety and sovereignty. And the successful and timely execution of these efforts sends an unequivocal message to our adversaries and allies, the United States. I thank you again for the opportunity to testify and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, General. Next, welcome General Davis. Appreciate having you here today. We're ready for your comments.
Thank you. Chairwoman Fisher, Ranking Member King, it's an honor to appear before you today representing the men and women of Air Force Global Strike Command. I want to extend my sincere thanks to this committee and Congress for your continued support, and specifically for your commitment to the Air Force's nuclear and conventional long-range strike missions. This committee recognizes the existential threats to our nation. We face the unprecedented challenge of deterring two peer nuclear adversaries, China and Russia, who both possess modern and diverse arsenals, while at the same time North Korea continuously attempts to expand and modernize its nuclear arsenal. The increasing coordination among these rivals underscores the urgent need for a capable, flexible, and modern nuclear force. Air Force Global Strike Command provides our nation's combat-ready forces for nuclear and conventional long-range strike. Our highest priority is to deter conflict, and should deterrence fail, to win decisively. Today, that mission is being executed at an ever-increasing operational tempo. Our bomber force, consisting of B-1s, B-2s, and B-52s, remain in high demand across multiple theaters. Over the last year, the command has played pivotal roles in military operations, including Rough Rider, Midnight Hammer, Absolute Resolve, and more recently, Epic Fury. These missions have required long-duration CONUS-to-CONUS missions and overlapping bomber deployments. In Operation Epic Fury alone, Air Force Global Strike Command conducted over 150 bomber sorties, 48 of which were round-trip from the United States. These missions were a minimum of 18 hours in duration, with those from the U.S. taking as long as 40 hours. We have executed every tasking with precision and professionalism. However, these efforts have come at a cost borne largely by our airmen. We continue to deliver under ever-increasing strain, and we are operating on tight margins, and your continued support is invaluable. To meet these no-fail missions, we must sustain our current forces while simultaneously modernizing our two legs of the nuclear triad and the critical nuclear command, control, and communication aircraft that connect them. This is a monumental task that includes the replacement of our aging weapon systems through the Sentinel program, the fielding of the B-21, the modernization of the B-52, as well as developing and delivering the Survivable Airborne Operations Center and the Long-Range Standoff Weapon. Two of these systems, Sentinel and B-21, are deemed so important to the future of national security that the Secretary of War created the Direct Reporting Portfolio Manager, who reports to the Deputy Secretary of War. In this new position, General White, with both Service and Department of War acquisition authorities, has significantly streamlined and accelerated acquisition decisions, which provides the responsiveness to field these systems on time with the required capabilities. This unprecedented approach will be critical to delivering these 21st century platforms with the capabilities needed to stay ahead of ever-increasing threats. Nuclear deterrence remains a bedrock of our military strength and is foundational to the defense of our nation and our allies. Our conventional long-range strike capabilities are equally vital, providing the President with a full range of options to deter aggressions and, when necessary, defeat any potential adversary. Air Force Global Strike Command, along with Air Mobility Command air refueling aircraft, make the United States the only nation with the ability to conduct worldwide long-range strike missions anytime or any place. Of course, none of this is possible without our Stryker airmen. They are our greatest strength, and their dedication, determination, and grit, often delivered in austere and harsh environments, are the real key to these remarkable capabilities. However, Air Force Global Strike Command and the Air Force Nuclear Enterprise remain at an inflection point. Critical modernization programs have begun, and with stable and consistent resources, we can reduce risk and build momentum. We must continue to safely and securely operate legacy nuclear systems with limited margins while fielding the new systems. Success relies, as it has in the past, on the hard work and dedication of our airmen. Today, I respectfully request your continued support as we confront these challenges and continue to guarantee the safety of our nation's security. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, General Davis. Admiral Wolfe, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your service. And it has been a pleasure having you come before this subcommittee the last 8 years. And the information you've provided me as chairman or ranking member during that time has been invaluable. So I thank you for that, and you are recognized for your comments.
Chairman Fisher, Ranking Member King, it is an honor to be here today. I'd like to thank Congress for its continued support in providing the Navy with the resources required to execute our assigned mission. I'd like to begin by assuring you that the Navy's nuclear forces, the bedrock of our national security, are safe, secure, effective, and credible. As the Navy command that provides cost-effective, safe, effective, and secure sea-based strategic deterrent solutions, SSP is entrusted to provide cradle-to-grave life cycle support to 3 critical programs: the Trident II D5 strategic weapon system, the Navy's Conventional Prompt Strike hypersonic program, and the Nuclear Armed Sea Launch Cruise Missile program. These are 3 of our nation's highest priority acquisition programs, and with your support, they ensure the Navy is delivering peace through strength. SSP ensures the highest levels of readiness and modernization of the Trident strategic weapon system. As the most survivable leg of our nuclear triad, the ballistic missile submarine force provides an unyielding foundation for assured response against any adversary. That force stands at a critical juncture. Decades of strategic foresight have delivered an unparalleled capability, but to maintain our advantage in the face of evolving threats, we must build on these decisions and prioritize the modernization of our nuclear infrastructure and our industrial base. A strong domestic industrial base is the foundation of a credible deterrent. Using resources authorized by this committee, SSP is actively working to revitalize this national asset, ensuring the timely production and delivery of critical strategic weapons systems components while fostering American jobs and technological superiority. Our modernization needs cannot succeed without investing in research and development, investing in the critical skills for our workforce and the facilities needed to produce, sustain, and certify our strategic systems. Our infrastructure is also at an inflection point. Existing facilities are reaching their 30-year recapitalization windows as we enter into a once-in-a-generation modernization of both the Trident strategic weapons system and our ballistic missile submarine platform. Over the past year, Navy has made incredible progress moving forward with development of the Sea Launch Cruise Missile Nuclear as the program moves at an extremely aggressive pace to deliver both a limited operational capability and an initial operational capability. SSP's mission, strategic deterrence, is critical to this nation. It's the foundation of the national security strategy and is a top priority of our Secretary of War. In order to accomplish SSP sustainment and development missions, we must have trained, skilled employees on board. Systems do not design, test, and build themselves. People do, which is what makes our people our greatest asset. As the 14th Director of Strategic Systems Programs, I am honored to represent them, and I have absolute faith and confidence in the safety, security, effectiveness, and credibility of our Navy strategic deterrent due to the proficiency and professionalism of these dedicated service members and civilians who have made deterrence their life's work. The 15th Director will inherit a legacy of proven success that will enable the command to grow and take challenges we have not yet begun to imagine. With continued congressional support and stable on-time funding, our Navy will continue to effectively defend our nation and preserve peace for future generations. This will be my last time sitting in front of this committee. I would like to thank you for your support of SSP and more specifically, your support of me during my time as the director. You have allowed us to accelerate these critical national programs. I am humbled and honored to have been entrusted to lead an organization so critical to our nation's security. I'm proud of the work of my team that I have accomplished over the last 8 years that I have been director of SSP, and indeed across my 38-year naval service career. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Admiral Wolfe. I'd like to start with you, sir, with questions. With the FY26 NDAA, it directed the Department and NNSA to provide a limited operational capability for SLCMN by 2032. How's the Navy working in order to meet that timeline?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. We're doing extremely well. We've taken on the challenge. We've stood up our program office. We're building the workforce in partnership with NNSA. We've identified opportunities to do just that, accelerate where we wanted the program of record to be, to look at a limited operational capability. I couldn't be prouder of the team, the way they're thinking differently about how we can get this critical technology into our warfighters' hands even sooner than what you've asked us to do. But I would say the partnership and the fleet as well. Admiral Seif and I at Sub 4 are lockstep in how we're not only going to develop the capability, but once it's there, how they're going to catch it and actually deploy it when the time comes.
Thank you. Why is it important to have that? I always stress that it gives the president options. And
Yes.
We have to move faster to get the president those
Yes, ma'am,
options.
absolutely. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think every option that we can provide as a department and within NSA to provide options to our decision makers is absolutely critical, particularly in this environment, as we've heard, with not just one but two strategic competitors. Everything that we can do to put that capability in our warfighters' hands as quickly as we can is absolutely critical.
Thank you. I'm always used to Dr. Kadlec. Secretary Kadlec, good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
I appreciated that your written testimony included strong support for the Slick Amend program and your comments on how it will, quote, complement our existing capabilities and provide the President a persistent, survivable regional nuclear presence without dependence on host nations, end quote. I strongly agree that the President needs those options, and I look forward to working with you and the Nuclear Weapons Council on this. I also want to bring up another topic, NC3. How's the Department prioritizing that nuclear command control and communications, and specifically, how's your office working with services to ensure that they are appropriately prioritizing that NC3 modernization?
Well, Senator, I would describe it as you have in the past, that it's the fourth leg of the triad, but really it's the first leg of the triad. It is the most important piece of the triad that we have, particularly when we consider to connecting the sustainment of existing systems to future systems, analog to digital. So it has the highest priority in my office, and quite frankly, thanks to the reorganization that was mandated by 1635, we've incorporated the NC3 office into my oversight, and we have a very capable individual, Dr. Todd Shriver, who's managing that, and we're working through all these issues to basically get a functional review of this, which was recently done at the 4-star level with Mr. Duffy as the Assistant Secretary for Acquisition, and we'll be taking it forward to a nuclear decision forum hopefully soon with our Deputy Secretary. So we think that this is really key in light of not just the transition phase, but the evolving threat landscape that we have to keep on top of this all the time. And we'll be working with the services individually and collectively, as well as Stratcom, which is the functional manager for the NC3 enterprise.
Have you started working with services at this point in time, or is that in the future?
Ma'am, we've started mostly at the OSW level and with Stratcom. I was on the call today with Admiral Carell talking about this issue. How can we bring more focus to certain elements, particularly around the future threat? But we will be working down to the individual service level as well, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. In future conversations we have, could you provide me with some more information on just, first of all, specifically what services and what their focus is going to be with regard to NC3?
Well, just topically, I can just say as far as TACAMO and SAOC, obviously with the Air Force and with the Navy, with the development of the C-130Js, TACAMO is obviously the Navy program, and SAOC is an Air Force program. But we are focusing on those two particular areas, as well as Looking Glass Next, which is a Stratcom Air Force program.
Right. Thank you very much. Senator King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's worth commenting and noticing that everybody said that their part of the triad was the bedrock. And I think that's a good way to look at it, and I hope you all continue to consider it in that way. Secretary Kadlec, your position was created last year in order to consolidate responsibility for nuclear policy one of my favorite maxims of management is one throat to choke. That's you. And the whole idea was to consolidate and bring together into one office all of these diverse issues of nuclear policy. I've heard rumors that Secretary Colby is building another office within his office on nuclear policy. Is there any truth to those rumors? Is that something are we back to splitting things up again?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the rumor that you're offering at this point, and I do know that I work with and speak with Undersecretary Colby regularly on these issues. He is co-chairing with Admiral Carell a nuclear strategy review. I don't know if that may be
Perhaps that's the source of the rumors.
However, we're participants in that, our office.
That's what I wanted to follow up.
Yes.
I guess the question is, do you feel that the coordination and cooperation and integration is working?
Well, it's like anything, a work in progress, but it is working, and we are advancing the cause here in terms of trying to address these issues. I think the nuclear strategy review is just a case in point where we're advancing this collectively between Stratcom, the warfighter, and hopefully other COCOMs in the future, as well as policy and our office in acquisition, to bring this all together into coherency that heretofore probably didn't exist.
Well, that's exactly the purpose of your office. So pursue it with vigor, as they say.
Well, sir, it's a size 16 collar, so.
All right, good. Just to advise. We've all talked today about the importance of the deterrent in order to protect the continental United States. But part of our deterrent is our extended deterrent and the so-called nuclear umbrella. My concern is that our allies may be losing confidence in that commitment, whether they're European or in Asia. I think that would be a great that would be a geostrategic mistake of a high order, because we don't want more and more countries feeling they have to develop their own nuclear capacity. That would lead to greater proliferation risk and other sort of destabilizing risks. Talk to me about, and it bothers me, let me put a fine point on this, the unclassified version of the National Defense Strategy did not mention extended deterrence or our nuclear umbrella at all. Can you reassure me that this is still part of a U.S. Nuclear policy?
Senator, I can. And extended deterrence has been a matter of public comments by Undersecretary Colby, subject to Europe. And I think in the case of how we vote with our feet, we do have nuclear weapons forward deployed with our dual capable aircraft and work with our allies in that way. So that hasn't changed one iota, at least in the current sense. And I think the key thing here is what has sometimes, I think, been confused with the idea of demanding that we have a strong conventional defense with our allies in Europe and in Asia to ensure that our extended deterrence provides a backstop.
But that extended deterrence should still be there. We do not want every country in the world developing their own nuclear weapons.
And it's been explicitly stated that it is policy.
And that's a separate issue, as I see it, as stepping up in terms of their percent of GDP, et cetera. General White, I know we could spend all afternoon on this, but there was a non-McCurdy breach in Sentinel. How are we doing in getting back on schedule and getting to a place where we can have control of the budget and deliver the project before those Minutemen threes age out?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I would submit to you that we're doing very well, as we've had discussions numerous times. I think the progress is very focused in a sense that a lot of the planning has been done. The restructure will be done in 2026, and we'll enter the milestone B phase and get that completed statutorily. But more importantly, getting everyone aligned on a vision of what we need to do. Cost estimation will be completed in the summer. We've already gone through some of the requirements process with some of the folks on the panel with me here today. And then getting to a place like what we're doing with the launch silo and actually having a prototyping effort that we just started in February. Additionally, we're also working on the missile side and the ability to do our first pad launch in 2027. So the restructure is near complete. Milestone B will be done this year, and then we'll have substantive process with prototyping on the silo side, as well as on the ground launch in terms of a pad launch for 2027.
I hope you'll give some thought to the structure of the contracts that are going to be involved. You were involved in the B-21 project, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's one of the most successful defense contract acquisitions we've done in many, many years. And I hope that we can think about some of the lessons learned there to apply to this project in terms of sharing the risk on development, but having fixed price on actual implementation. So I think that's an important part of how this proceeds.
Yes, sir, and I think you'll find over time, one of the first things I did was look deeply into the acquisition strategy, whether it's the most effective approach as we enter that milestone B and we go through the process, making sure we have the right structure in place that's going to ensure we're going to get the capability delivered to our warfighters.
Thank you all, and again, Admiral Wolfe, thank you so much for your work, and your work with this committee has been invaluable over the years, and fair winds and following seas, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator King. Admiral Wolfe, can you provide us with an update on the life extension program for the Trident?
Yes, ma'am. So we are on plan. As we've worked through that, we're looking at what the right architecture is going to be. We are actually looking at with funding that this committee has given us to look to accelerate that program, to figure out how we can pull some of the testing to the left early. As I said in my opening remarks, getting this new workforce trained, getting them to learn how to do this business. So that's where we're at. We've gotten all the milestones to date.
So it's on track?
Yes, ma'am. We are definitely on track.
2039.
Yeah, well, so 2039 is when we deploy the first weapon.
Are we on track?
On Columbia. Yes, ma'am, we are.
2039.
We are definitely on track. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What do you think's the biggest risks so you can timely execute these milestones?
Yes, ma'am. I think the biggest risk is making sure that we get, as I said, the industrial base back up to where they can actually execute this program at capacity. And then on the government side, it really is understanding all the testing that we're going to need to do, both from the pad and from the platform before we start deploying in 2039. So that's what we're focused on right now, is getting all of that capacity and getting all of the systems where they need to get so we can start testing.
Okay, thank you. General Davis, can you provide us with an update on the SAOC program?
Absolutely. Chairman Fisher, the SAOC program is past milestone B. It's fully funded in the FY27 budget. The team at Dayton, Ohio is working very hard. They've already acquired 4 aircraft in engineering, manufacturing, and development that they're converting into the new SAOC platforms. We're expecting the first aircraft to show up at Omaha, which has been identified as the main operating base in the early 2030s. But that program is remaining on track, but obviously there's a lot of work to do between now and that time.
Are you going to be able to prevent a capability gap between NAOC and SAOC?
Ma'am, we'll absolutely be able to keep NAOC up and operating in its current configuration until then. It's a challenge, and it's a very expensive platform to maintain. So any actions we can take that move SAOC forward, and we're looking at a couple of those, I think will be worth the taxpayers' money. And once again, I think the sooner we can recapitalize that, the better off we'll be.
Thank you. General White, you've been in the role about 5 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? How do you think the authorities that you've been given, how does that help you cut through all the bureaucratic red tape? Are we giving you what you need, what we hoped would happen?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I would say a resounding yes. I would say just some of the major acquisition decisions I've made in the first several months, we've probably cut the time by 60 to 70%. A large reason for that is as you've probably heard me state publicly, is I don't have a very large staff. Right now, at last count, I have 23 people. And the reason I have 23 people is because there are thousands of people working these programs, and what they didn't need is another extended layer of oversight. So my staff is focused on expertise like strategic advisor, which is provides legal advice. I have an expert in budget, expert in contracting, and I also have an operator as my deputy who is a former B-2 pilot and has experience in Global Strike Command. So that gives me the ability to support these programs. As you know, I have a vast experience in many of these, and so I have the ability to look in and see where they need help, number one, and number two, to be able to expedite decision-making so that we can deliver these capabilities. And so I would say to this point, the authorities, as you well know, far exceed just acquisition, but they've been a resounding success in allowing me to be able to have that freedom of maneuver within these programs.
And back to Sentinel.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you ensuring that we're going to have a capable Minutemen III until Sentinel's going to be fully deployed?
Well, first and foremost, as you'll see in the 27 budget, we resource it. That's step one, and we have done that. You'll also see an increase over time as we start getting more RDT&E to get modernization programs in place to ensure that that system not only remains sustainable, but in an area where it's maintainable. So we'll upgrade those portions of the system that we need to along the way. And so you'll have my commitment and the commitment of my team to make sure we continue that. And you'll see the Air Force standing with me side by side on making sure we get that done. So there's certainly no confusion on the importance of making sure it's maintainable, sustainable, and online.
Well, I certainly appreciate the updates that you give Senator King and myself in classified briefings. Those are extremely helpful, and it only helps instill confidence in the position you have, and that it is working, and that we are able to move ahead. For General White and General Davis, how are you both working together, along with Admiral Carell, to ensure that STRATCOM's requirements are going to be met with all these programs?
I'll lead off, and then I'll turn it over to my good friend SL. I think first and foremost, and it's just not Admiral Carell and General Davis, it's also Dr. Kadlec. And so,
sorry to have left you out.
The success of our ability to be seamless.
We should throw in Admiral Wolfe as well.
You know,
it's his last. It's
your last one.
We do work together actually in many areas.
Yeah, and so the idea is simply that we operate a single mine and we're very well integrated. There's no gaps and seams. It's the first thing I said when I came on board, is my ability for us, the four of us, to work together on these major programs with B-21 and Sentinel especially is going to be the foundation of my success.
And I would just say we have a routine battle rhythm where Admiral Carell, General White, and I get together every 2 weeks. I meet with Admiral White every other week to discuss these programs. I would say past that, I've had the opportunity to work with both General White and Admiral Carell in previous jobs. So I have a personal relationship with both of them as well. So I think that keeps everything flat and allows us to have frank conversations about the needs of the program and to keep moving this forward.
The alignment at this point, I would say, is as strong as it's probably ever been across all of these different positions, and if we have to maintain that to be able to execute the outcomes we want.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Senator King, did you have other questions?
I just wanted to make an observation, because we're all talking sort of in detail. One of the issues we're facing a difficult budget situation, as you know. The deficit is now itself a national security issue that's going to have to be addressed. The unfortunate truth is, though, that it's fallen to the lot of all of us to modernize the entire nuclear triad at once. Probably, in retrospect, we should have been doing pieces of it over the last 30 or plus years. Plus, as we heard previously, we're having to modernize the nuclear weapon production as well as the triad platforms. I refer to it as the pig in the budgetary python. It's a lump that's moving through that we're just going to have to swallow in order to maintain the basic bedrock of our national security strategy, which is deterrence. Deterrence consists of capacity and will, and our adversaries have to understand that we have both. And what you're working on right now is the capacity part. And I believe that's what's so important about the work that we're doing in Sentinel, in the B-21, and also in Columbia. So I think it's important to sort of look on this as a bigger picture in terms of appropriations and expenses. This is not something that will continue forever. We'll get through these new programs. It is unfortunate from a budgetary perspective we're having to do it all at once, but it's nonetheless so critical to national security. So I want to thank all of you for the work that you're doing. Secretary Kadlec, I really appreciate the role that you're playing, and be aggressive. Don't let them poach on your authority here. Your job was created for a purpose, and it's very important to have that central coordinating function. So thank you very much for your testimony today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator King. And I think it's important for all of you and also for our committee as a whole to remind the American people that the first duty of Congress is for the defense of this country. It is for national security. And as all of you say, the deterrence that our nuclear forces provide is the bedrock of that security. Thank you for the important work you do. Thank you again, Admiral Wolfe. Wish you well in the future. We are adjourned.
C-SPAN's Washington Journal, our live